This is a horrible story, and children are now left to suffer. We're told at least 4 kids were inside this home around 2:30 this morning when the victim and suspect ran out of the house. Police then tell us the woman ended up around the corner on that main road, and that's when detectives tell us her fiancé shot and killed her. Firefighters return in the daylight hours to wash the street, but neighbors say the stain of this murder is permanent.
In October 2021, Dina Taylor penned a beautiful tribute to her fiancé on her Facebook page. It was only a few weeks before their wedding, and she gushed about how sweet, kind, gentle, and loving he was. Her Facebook account was filled with loving messages towards him, where she would write about how she never imagined she would ever meet someone like him, and that marrying him was a dream. She never thought it would come true, and it never did. What was supposed to be a beautiful celebration of 2 people who loved each other very much turned into a chilling tale of horror when Dina's loving and gentle fiancé, Dionte Sims, chased her onto the street of their home, pulled a firearm on her, fired at her at point-blank range, and left her fighting for her life out on the street. By the time help arrived, it was too late. She was gone, her life taken by her sweet and kind fiancé. What led Dionte Sims to chase Dina out onto the street in a fit of rage? And why did it take so long for help to get to Dina? Let's find out in the story of Dina Taylor, the mother of 5 who was killed in the street by her fiancé a few weeks before her wedding.
And he had heard the shots. I told my husband, I said, those are gunshots. I said, Stuart, there's a body out there. And my heart, goes out. Our young people, it's just so much.
39-year-old Dina Taylor was a nurse who was passionate about helping people, according to her friends and family. She had studied practical nursing at Prism Career Institute and became an LPN charge nurse. Dina was described as a kind and gentle soul, who was kind to everyone and always wanted to help people. She was the kind of person who naturally brightened the lives of the people who encountered her with her bright smile and wonderful personality. Dina was also a hopeless romantic. Though the relationships she had been in the past had turned out to be the wrong ones for her, those relationships had taken from her and drained her. Dina always gave her all to a relationship and showered her partners with love and care, but she never seemed to get the same in return. Instead, she was often disrespected, not valued, and treated very badly, which made her choose to remain single at some point. On August 5, 2020, Dina announced her decision to be single on Facebook, saying that as much as she would love to be in love, she was not going to settle or compromise on her standards. On August 5, 2020, Dina posted, "As much as I would love to be in love and to be building with my significant other, I'm single 100% by choice because I desire and require to be respected and treated like a queen. I know what I bring to the table emotionally, physically, and financially. I will not settle or compromise my standards to fit into a box that's too small. Nope. Funny thing is, at this very moment, I have a few open offers, but what is for me? I won't have to question. Come correct or don't come at all," Dina wrote. It seemed Dina had locked in on the realization that if the relationships didn't serve her, there was no point in getting into them. She had described the kind of relationship she wanted and how she wanted to be treated in the relationship. Well, it seems someone was listening because on November 1, 2020, Dina updated her Facebook status to, "in a relationship." But it seemed not long after getting into the relationship, there was trouble in paradise. Dina began to leave cryptic messages on Facebook about her state of mind and the state of her relationship. On December 6, 2020, roughly 1 month after changing her Facebook status, she posted this: "I feel disconnected, overworked, and sleep deprived." But that wasn't all. The very next day, she posted what looked like a breakup message. "Relationships sometimes fail because we look for perfect instead of looking for worth it. My learning and growth have been major." She added the hashtag relationship lessons to the post. While she never confirmed whether she had broken up with her boyfriend or not, whatever it was didn't seem to last because, by May of 2021, she made her first post with her new boyfriend. She posted a photo of her and him in all white on Facebook. It was the first time she was posting his picture, and it looked like it was to celebrate their engagement, as she added a date, August 27, 2022, with an engagement ring emoji. On July 2, 2021, Dina again took to Facebook to gush about her upcoming wedding, providing updates on how far she had gone in planning for it. 13 months until my wedding and I don't know where to start, how to start, what to wear, or how to look. At least one of the biggest stressors is handled. The venue is paid in full and locked in, so there will be a wedding on August 27, 22. Lol, hopefully. I'll have a dress though, lol. 4 days later, she made another post, this time gushing about her fiancé, Dionte Sims. Dina believed meeting him was fate. She described him as her knight in shining armor and her best friend. The heavens sent me my sweet knight in shining armor, my best friend, my fiancé, and we're getting married next year. He handles me with care, like fine china. Love isn't complicated, she wrote. And that wasn't all. Dina made many posts about Dionte. She couldn't wait to be married to who she described as the most kind, gentle, dedicated, and loving man she had ever met. Only in my dreams did I ever think that I'd be getting married in a beautiful mansion to the most kind, gentle, dedicated, and loving man that I would ever meet. When they say dreams come true, please believe them, she wrote. To everyone who saw her posts, Dina seemed so happy and excited to be marrying the man of her dreams. Unfortunately, the reality was not as rosy as she painted it to be, because only 6 days after she made her last post celebrating her fiancé, she was dead. On September 15, 2021, residents of Cecily Court in Upper Marlboro witnessed a shocking argument between Dina Taylor and her fiancé, Dionte Sims. Part of the argument took place outside and was loud enough for everyone in the neighborhood to feel the tension. This argument lasted well into the early hours of the morning. It was very heated, and neither of them seemed to be backing down. Though it's still unclear what led to their argument, at around 2:30 a.m. on the morning of September 16, Dina ran out into the street. Immediately after, Dionte ran after her.
This is a horrible story, and children are now left to suffer. We're told at least 4 kids were inside this home around 2:30 this morning when the victim and suspect ran out of the house.
But unfortunately for her, she didn't get very far before Dionte caught up to her, fired at her, and left her dying on the road.
The house. Police then tell us the woman ended up around the corner on that main road, and that's when detectives tell us her fiancé shot and killed her.
What looked to be a beautiful, healthy relationship, the stuff of dreams, turned into a nightmare in one night. Because it happened in the middle of the night, the neighborhood was asleep, but a few neighbors were awakened by the loud bangs.
I told my husband, I said, those are gunshots. I said, Stuart, there's a body out there. And my heart, goes out. Our young people, it's just so much.
Her children were inside the house the entire time Dina and Dionte were arguing. The last time they saw their mom was when she ran out of the house with Dionte in pursuit. When they heard the bangs and saw Dionte come back in alone, one of Dina's children called family members, who thankfully got there as fast as possible and got the kids out of the house. Dionte then proceeded to barricade himself inside the house.
We're told her son called for help. Family members arrived, got all the kids out of the house and to safety before the suspect barricaded himself inside.
Once the authorities arrived, they quickly attended to Dina, who was still lying on the ground where Dionte had left her. Unfortunately, it was too late. She was not breathing and was pronounced deceased at the scene.
We were able to get to her pretty quick with some armored vehicles and the officers on the scene, but it was very apparent immediately that she was deceased.
Once they transported Dina to the morgue, they focused their full attention on getting Dionte out of the house in a way that would not cause any harm to him or anyone else. However, it was not easy. Dionte was not coming out, and when officers tried to enter, he fired at them twice. According to a press release by the Upper Marlboro Police Department, after assessing the situation, they deployed the appropriate team to negotiate with Dionte, attempting to get him to surrender himself.
This morning at approximately 2:20 a.m., our officers responded to the 12400 block of Cecily Court for the report of a shooting. Once on scene, our officers located an adult female short distance away from that location in the roadway suffering from gunshot wounds. She has since been pronounced dead on the scene. As our officers went to investigate at the original location of incident, they determined that an armed individual was inside of a home.
They brought in officers trained in negotiations to speak to Dionte. They also brought in emergency services in case the situation escalated.
Out of an abundance of caution, we declared a barricade. Our conflict negotiators and our emergency services team responded to the location.
After 5 hours of negotiation, during which different tactics were tried to get Dionte to turn himself in, he finally came out of his home and surrendered to the authorities.
Through the course of their negotiations, our suspect in this case has successfully surrendered and has been taken into custody.
Police say an armed man inside this home on Cecily Court in Upper Marlboro finally surrendered nearly 5 hours after they say he shot and killed his fiancé about a block away.
At this point, Dina Taylor was gone, so the case immediately became a homicide. The first thing investigators assigned to the case did was to try to ascertain a timeline of events. What happened on the night of September 15th that led to that explosive argument? Was Dionte a volatile person who often lost his temper, or was this out of the blue?
The woman was found in the street. She'd been shot and was declared dead at the scene.
After taking Dionte into custody, investigators stayed back to hose the street, clearing it of any signs of the tragic events that took place just a few hours before. But no matter how thoroughly they hosed the street, the neighbors would never forget the sounds they heard or the sight of Dina lying on the ground, not moving. From the neighbors, investigators were able to learn a lot more about Dina and Dionte's relationship, but most importantly, about Dionte himself. They were curious to know who he was and what led him to take the steps he took. A neighbor who had always lived next door to Dionte had so much to say about him. She had known him since he was a child, as his parents owned the home he lived in. According to the neighbor, Dionte had grown up playing with her kids.
Doris Benson devastated after learning the suspect grew up with her own children. Their families, longtime neighbors.
His parents are wonderful people. They really are.
It was a shock to her that the sweet boy she watched grow up would do something so dark and sinister.
I still love him. I hate that it came to that. I don't know why it came to that. But they're just nice people.
Other neighbors didn't know Dionte and Dina very well, but they did confirm that their neighborhood was usually quiet, and nothing like that had ever happened before.
And it's normally quiet. We don't hear stuff like this. And to her that happened is kind of saying, for me, it's kind of not terrifying, but it's like really sad.
Through their neighbors, officers also discovered a lot about the relationship Dina and Dionte had and how their children fit into it.
Police confirmed the suspect and victim were engaged to get married and both had children from previous relationships.
Currently, our homicide detectives and our crime scene investigators are on scene working to determine the events leading up to this fatal shooting this morning.
What do we know about those events so far that you could say preliminarily about the events that led up to the shooting?
Preliminarily, we do believe that this is a domestic-related homicide, and it's still early on in the investigation, so that's the most I could say at this time.
The officer also answered a few questions from the media during the press briefing. He addressed inquiries about how Dina ended up on the street, stating that they were still putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
And how did the woman end up on the street?
That we're still looking to figure out exactly what transpired prior to that 911 call coming in this morning.
During the press briefing, the officer also mentioned that while they knew it was a domestic violence-related tragic event, they didn't know if this was a pattern of behavior that could have been reported by Dina or if Dionte had just snapped.
Have you been here before?
That's still part of the investigation. We will do an address search. Unfortunately, I don't have that information available to me this early on.
As far as the relationship between the two, what can you say about what the man and the woman's relationship is?
That I can't confirm right now. We want to make sure that we interview all involved parties to confirm that, but I can't say it is being investigated as domestic related at this time.
They also answered questions about where the call to 911 had been made from, whether it had been made from inside the house or away from the house.
Did the 911 call come in from the residence where this incident happened or from somewhere else?
Preliminarily, I do believe it came from the residence.
Perhaps from the victim?
I'm not exactly sure who the caller was.
Are you releasing his name? And I assume he's been arrested, and then what for?
So typically, right now, he is in custody, pending the charges. We do, as standard in any homicide investigation, we do try to talk to our victims and our suspects in this case.
What kind of weapons did this suspect have access to in the home?
That is still under investigation. I'm not exactly sure what was used. I can say that we do know there was some type of firearm used this morning, though.
Though at this point, investigators had a pretty good idea of what transpired, they still needed to speak to Dionte to confirm some information before filing charges.
Once we talk to the suspect, our detectives will determine the appropriate charges and apply for those with the court commissioner, and then we'll release that information later on in a news release.
The officer also revealed that emergency services had arrived as quickly as they could, but they were not allowed to get to Dina as Dionte had cut off their access to her. It was possible that if they had attended to her the moment they got to the scene, she could have survived the ordeal and lived to tell her story. But unfortunately, that did not happen.
And it was enough that that first responders weren't able to get to the victim?
Yes, ma'am. Out of caution, with the active fluid scene, it was determined at that time that it wasn't safe to move directly, and based on the information we had available to us at that time.
It's been really tough to know someone needed you and not be able to get there.
Absolutely, it's hard to deal with, but we have to take everyone's safety, the community, even the suspect in this case, safety into consideration.
The officer laid out their course of action when they got to the scene, explaining that officers led the way to clear the area before allowing emergency services to attend to Dina.
So typically in incidents like this, when a shooting comes out, the fire department along with the police department are co-dispatch. The way it works is the police department will go in first to ensure the scene is safe for our co-responders at the fire department.
However, because it took a long time to get past Dionte's barricade, they could not reach her in time to save her life.
This morning, unfortunately, it took some time to stabilize the scene to ensure that it was safe for those first responders to come in. Once that was, of course, they came in, but unfortunately, our victim was pronounced deceased this morning. Yeah, we're going to exhaust every option. We want peaceful resolutions in these type of situations. We don't want to be quick to just jump in to action to get the incident resolved. So this morning just demonstrates our ability to hold fast and try to resolve a peaceful resolution to bring someone into custody, and that's what our negotiators did this morning.
After the officers cleared off Cecile Court, the real investigation began as investigators spoke to friends, family, co-workers, and neighbors of Dionte and Dina to establish a timeline of events.
Investigators are trying to piece together what happened inside the home that led to the shooting as they gather evidence and interview witnesses.
Their main aim was to determine whether Dionte Sims was a man who had been putting his fiancée through hell in private, or if he really was the Mr. Nice Guy everyone seemed to portray him as.
Domestic violence is always an issue, and it's always something that we're trying to, provide services for. With the pandemic, obviously, that's probably compounded.
When speaking to the people who knew him, investigators could not make sense of why Dionte did what he did. Everyone who knew him only had good things to say about him, and coupled with Dina's Facebook posts, it painted a picture of a perfect gentleman. But perfect gentlemen don't chase the woman they claim to love, the woman they were planning to marry in a few short weeks, down the street with a firearm. Everything they learned about Dionte wasn't adding up with his chilling actions on the morning of September 16th. The only person who could provide clarity in the case, Dina, was gone. She was the only one who could tell everyone if Dionte's Mr. Nice Guy persona had been an act or if he truly had been a gentleman, but she was gone. While at the police station, Dionte Sims confessed that he had fired at Dina and tried to fire at 2 other officers.
Police say an armed man inside this home on Cecily Court in Upper Marlboro.
With a clean confession and corroboration by Dina's kids who were there that night, Dionte Sims was charged with the murder of his fiancée, Dina Taylor. Dionte was charged with common law murder, attempted first-degree murder, first and second-degree assault, use of a firearm in the commission of a crime of violence, along with other illegal gun-related charges, and 2 enhancements for committing a crime of violence in the presence of a minor.
We extend our condolences to the family on the victim that we lost this morning.
The state's attorney released a statement of condolence to Dina's family. "My heart goes out to the family and loved ones of Ms. Taylor. What happened to this beautiful young woman was very sad and tragic. My job is to seek justice for her and her loved ones, and that is exactly what my office will do on their behalf." Dionte pled guilty to all the charges in a bid to avoid a long and messy trial, and in exchange, he received a plea deal. He was sentenced to 55 years in prison, and per his plea agreement, he will spend 5 years on probation upon release. He will also be required to enroll in a batterer's intervention program and undergo drug and alcohol abuse and mental health evaluations. According to the state's attorney, though Dionte had taken responsibility for his actions, he still had to pay for them. Though Mr. Sims has taken responsibility for his deplorable actions, he will face severe consequences. What happened to this beautiful young woman was a tragedy, and her entire family remains devastated. Domestic violence is a major problem in our country, and I want everyone to know that we take these cases seriously and we will do everything within our power to hold abusers accountable. 39-year-old Dina Taylor left behind 3 daughters and 2 sons. Her eldest daughter, who lives in Egg Harbor Township, started a GoFundMe page to help pay for her mom's funeral and raise her siblings. Hello everyone, my name is Yamina Triniwell. As most of you may know, my mother, Dina Taylor, lost her life due to domestic violence early Thursday morning. She left behind 5 children, as well as a community of family and friends. We are all mourning the loss of the amazing, beautiful, and gentle woman she was. Any donations will be given directly to the children to assist us during this time. Please continue to pray and support us during this challenging time. She also took to Facebook, an app that her mother loved and used so much, to share a heartfelt message about the loss of Dina Taylor. No words that I say can show anyone how much I love you. You are my heart, soul, diary, #1 supporter, my everything. I love you infinitely in this life and the next. Please watch over me and continue to guide me through this. I love you forever. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest updates. Stay tuned for more gripping stories from the world of crime. Until next time, stay safe and take care.